up, fam? What's good? What's good? What's good? Good to see you in the building on today. Welcome to Tuesdays with Tawana. Yes, very happy to be here on this Tuesday. Grateful to be a part of community. Grateful to be with you, building community one episode at a time. Grateful for the quote that was posted as we were preparing to go live. Um, when when we when we think about storytelling and we think about what that looks like and what that feels like and how do we respond to it, and when we think about storytelling, we remove the shame from that story. And when shame dies when stories are told in safe spaces. So I hope that this is truly a safe space for you as we share stories, as we comment, as we engage. So, for those of you who are joining us for the first time or it's been a while, I do my very best to engage comments, to share my story, to share stories that are going on in the world, to then share your comments and your story so that we can be free. We can be free to build community. We can learn what it is to show each other support and to love one another unconditionally and to journey together toward healing. So let's see who's in the building so far. My sister Tony, she's in the building. Thank you so much for joining, Tony. I really appreciate you. Hey, Amanda. Good to see you, my sister. Yes, my seminary sister is in the building, a dear friend, dear friend. I love her dearly. Hey, brother, good to see you. Yes, I'm so happy you are here on today. I feel like coming to America. I'm very happy to be here. I don't know why that just came into my mind. Mother Carolyn was good. What's good? Good to see you. So as people are popping in, this is I am Reverend T or Dr. Tad or Tawana, and we do Tuesdays with Tawana every Tuesday, 2 o'clock Eastern Time, for about 30 minutes. We chop it up a bit and we make things happen because we are here to make change. We are here to be the change that we want. We are here to build community. We are here to love one another. We are here to share experiences that the world doesn't hear about often. We usually don't hear these stories in the media. We don't often hear these stories in our communities. Um, so we build this platform, and prayerfully, I do try to be very careful when it comes to stating this is a safe space, um, because sometimes our stories aren't safe. Sometimes our stories aren't safe. So I do try to talk about being a sacred space. So when it's not safe, it is the sacred that brings us together. It's the sacred that protects us. It's the sacred energy that brings us together, to walk through to a space toward healing and safety and protection. Yeah, because sometimes it's not a safe space for Black folk or BIPOC folk. So we create these sacred spaces in order to be safe. So um, I, as you can see in the ticker, I always list the domestic violence hotline and the suicide prevention lifeline for those of you who are in a domestic violence relationship. And, or if you know of someone in a domestic violence relationship, the hotline is a great resource, because the one thing or a few things that we should never say is, don't let a person do that to you. I would never let that happen to me. Just leave. You might be signing that person's death certificate. That's how real it is. And for the Suicide Prevention Lifeline, if anyone is having a feeling of harming themselves, the helpline, and for those who might know someone, the helpline is a great resource for you to go to. Hey, Mama Lovey, in the house you are. Yes, thank you so much. So I want to talk a little bit about prayer. So over the last couple of months, it's just been a journey. It's been a journey for me, from my hospitalization, having a blood infection, having surgery when I had my port removed out of my arm and placed in my chest, and then the unexpected death of my sister, and just life happening, Buffalo happening, Uvalde, just stuff just happening, inflation, a bear market, the list goes on and on and on, right? And I found myself in a space where, God is not, however you refer to God and your relationship with God. God is not this genie in a bottle, right? Like, I pray for something, I ask for it, and it's going to happen. And then when it doesn't happen, I get mad at God because God didn't protect my sister, or because of the babies that were killed in Texas, or our Black beloveds who were killed in Buffalo. And so when I ask for things, then I get mad when it doesn't happen. So I had to kind of rethink. I had to rethink this journey. I had to rethink this journey of prayer. And I call it a journey because it's this ongoing process. It's a journey of growth. It's a journey of building relationship with God, this personal relationship with God, this acknowledgement of the God in us and the God of the universe and the God of the trees and the animals and the air that we breathe. So my prayer life has evolved. Yes, there is an opportunity for us to still ask for God to perform miracles seen and unseen. Yes, there is an opportunity for us to ask God for healing and protection and guidance and compassion and forgiveness and all of those things. And it is up to us to do two things. One, we have an opportunity to put feet to those prayers, because I truly believe that instead of rubbing the lamp 3 times and this genie popping out and, fulfilling your request, what responsibility do I have to partner with, to commune with, to acknowledge the God in me in order for this said situation to happen? So that's like putting feet to prayers, right? The second piece to this, though, is also, what am I really asking for? Like, what's really good in this prayer? What am I really seeking? Am I seeking the miracle? Yeah, okay, fine. Am I redefining what healing looks like and what I'm asking for? Am I reimagining what protection might look like, or self-love or self-care in the midst of a domestic violence relationship that I want to get out of? Am I learning more about myself in the midst of that prayer? Am I looking to God to strengthen me so that I can do what needs to be done that's not contingent upon the outcome, right? Because oftentimes we may, or some may, or I may pray a prayer and I'm automatically looking forward to the outcome. Like, I pray this prayer because I want this outcome to happen. And sometimes I am called to pray a prayer in love that is not even contingent upon a human outcome. It's contingent, or could be, or should be contingent upon a divine outcome that helps me to redefine what I am looking for, what I am praying for, what I am seeking. What do I really want? How do I strengthen my relationship with God? How do I see God in the midst of this horrific situation? How do I see God in the midst of sickness and pain? How do I see God in the midst of death? How do I see God in the midst of my diagnosis? And what is God saying to me? And what is the lesson that I need to learn? And how does God bring me through to whatever the other side looks like? My prayer life has evolved. So when prayer requests come through, and if I see them on Facebook, or if someone calls or texts or whatever, I pray. I'll light a candle depending on the situation or circumstance, sage, Palo Santo, get on my knees, lay out, lie in my bed, meditate, sit in silence, sit in nature, let my feet get on the ground, in the dirt, whatever that might look like. Because then I connect. My hope, my desire is to connect with God and for God to bring us through whatever that situation or circumstance is. So if someone is ill and gravely ill, my prayer may not necessarily be, I remember when I was first diagnosed, some folk would pray, take the cancer away, and yes, we do want that. And what if that doesn't happen? What is God requiring of us? What are we requiring of ourselves? How are we still loving ourselves in the midst of these heinous and troubling and trying situations? So my prayer might be just to speak the name of the person who is requesting prayer and saying, God, this doesn't make sense, and I trust you. I don't even know if I want to ask you to make it make sense. I think I want to ask that in the midst of all of this, that someone is comforted, healing happens, someone receives peace, someone receives a semblance of seeing you in the midst of this. So my prayer life has evolved. Tanisha said, it's like when I asked God for a heart for Reggie, but got angry when Reggie had to suffer through ECMO. And if you don't know what ECMO is, please look it up. It is definitely where this big machine is pretty much cleansing out and live your whole body and living for you, almost. Tanisha, correct me if I am wrong. And she said, God spoke to me in the spirit and was like, you asked for a heart, but it's not up to you how we get there. So to get the heart, Tanisha and Reggie, husband and wife, for those who don't know, Reggie got a heart transplant. They had to go through the ECMO process. I don't know why, but I could surmise or even desire to see God in the midst of that and say that that machine kept Reggie alive until that heart was ready, until the family was ready, until Tanisha was ready, until that moment that God ordained that all the pieces were in place, the doctors and the surgeons and the anesthesiologists and those who even cleaned the room and the space around him. And we were in the midst of COVID, and whatever it is, sometimes we gotta wait and we don't get it when we want to. But as our beloveds, our elder beloveds say, God is always on time. We have to learn to reevaluate ourselves in our prayers. They can't be self-driven, right? They become more communal. They become more internal. They become more truly spiritual, rooted in love, rooted in sacrifice, rooted in compassion, rooted in forgiveness. All of those things that God requires of us now comes alive in our prayers. Miss Odessa said, good afternoon, and she's continuously praying for me. I'm so grateful for you, Miss Odessa. Yes, praying for God's will. Praying that my will conforms with God's will. That's what we do. Because then, my stuff doesn't get in the way. Hey, Julie, good to see you, beloved, as always. Oh, Tony, I'm trying to translate the typos because, yeah, even at least you're on the train. I have no excuse for all the typos that are in my emails and in my text messages. So my prayer life has evolved. My prayer life seeks that sacred space in order to get to the safe space. My prayer life now helps me to look in the mirror and say, God, what are you requiring of me to do in this situation or circumstance to bring us to a place of healing, to bring us to a place of reconciliation, to bring us to a place of unconditional positive regard. And if you don't, and again, let me explain what unconditional positive regard. Think about it. Unconditional, it's not based on any conditions or prerequisites. Unconditional positive, that means positive no matter what you do, say, act, behave, believe. I still have a positive regard for you. I still hold you deep in my heart, even if I don't agree with you, even if I don't like what you have to say. Sometimes even when I don't like you, period, there is something in my heart that prays for you. That says, because there's somebody out there that doesn't like me. And what would I want? I would want someone to still wish me well and not to wish me harm or anything that is not helpful or speaking life into my situation or circumstance. And let me just say this. Let me give credit to Natalie Robinson Esquire, who posted the quote that we opened with just moments before we started. And I said, oh my goodness, we have got to use this. Natasha Robinson Esquire. Go to her page. She has a nonprofit. I believe it's a nonprofit. If it's not a nonprofit, it's definitely her own business called Legalese. And she helps people understand the legal process. So love our sisters who are out there doing their thing and building businesses. And the beauty about us building businesses is that usually we're building businesses that fill a gap in society, that'll help build community, that'll bring us together like Ubuntu. It's not just for the dollar. I mean, we do need money to survive. We do need money to pay $6 a gallon for gas if you are premium. We do, or not, because I think in California it's probably $6 for regular. But anyway, I digressed. But a lot of times we start these businesses, like Tanisha has, she's a makeup artist, and oftentimes she'll do tutorials, she'll go to other, she has her clientele, but she also does tutorials, she'll do special events. She did a special live for Tina Rose, my sister. She does a special live for Domestic Violence and Breast Cancer Awareness Month. So she uses her business to put stuff out there, right? To speak life into what we deem dead situations sometimes. So it's so it's so important that we know ourselves and know what we are contributing, not only to ourselves and toward ourselves, but for community. And that, brings in the prayer conversation we would just happen. But if I can shift just a little to an affirmation that says, I am worthy. Understanding, beloved, that you are worthy. You are worthy of the prayers that you pray. You are worthy of life and life more abundantly. You are worthy of what you desire and your hopes and your dreams, and dream big, because you are worthy to receive them. You are worthy to make those things manifest. You are worthy of that. The limiting beliefs, the self-doubt, the negative voices in your head, pray that away. Rebuke that and listen to the divine inside of you that says, I can and I will. I am worthy. I am enough. I am divine. I am a co-creator. I am beautiful. I am brilliant. And so we may not have the IQ of those cute kids who did the spelling bee or whatever. I was like, I can't do that. I'm 52 years old and I don't even know half of the words that they were talking about. So it's not about comparing. When I say I'm brilliant, it doesn't mean that you have to be brilliant like so and so, or be brilliant like an engineer or a scientist or whatever. It's being brilliant in your own right and knowing what you know, knowing yourself, know thyself and love thyself, so that you can get to know others and love others. That's the brilliance of it, the beauty of it, the divine brilliance of it. In that and with that, we had the celebration of life for my sister on Saturday, and people showed up via Zoom. The funeral home was full. Classmates from elementary school was there. Friends that she had since pre-K were there. And it was just a lot of love shown in that moment. But the reason why I bring it up in this capacity is because not only were we just talking about prayer and talking about we are worthy, but we are also to be celebrated by any means necessary and at any point in time, inserting that beautiful Black joy into any situation or circumstance. So we had drummers lead the family in. We had drummers and African dancers from LaRock Bay who danced and honored Tina, because Tina loved to dance and she danced with LaRock Bay for quite a long time. Mama Lovey said, oof, you are sharing some powerful wisdom today. Pray then, believe, and give thanks. So the African drummers were there, and not only to honor Tina, but in our African traditional religions, and when we dance and when we say Ashe, it is so, it just manifests spirit, it manifests love, it manifests so many things that speak life, even in that moment where we were honoring someone who just unexpectedly and tragically left this earth. and we were still able to celebrate. My brother, who is a retired Marine, him standing there with this beautiful box that he purchased with a dove on it for her ashes to go into, standing there in his African attire and his white gloves, because in the military, anytime you carry a casket, or in this case the ashes, you should have on white gloves. And he just looks so regal standing there. This is how you insert Black joy into situations that normally may not be joyous. It doesn't matter per se the life that was lived. It matters that you look for the good, you look for the divine, you look for the joyous, you look for the truth telling, you look for things that are going to happen that are not only going to honor the person, but then will honor the people in the room and help us to leave there differently than when we came in. Just like a preacher who preaches on Sunday, just like someone who is giving a motivational talk, it should be that you feel differently. You feel better, you feel encouraged, you feel empowered, you feel comforted. Even if the tears are still falling, even if the situation or the circumstance didn't change, you still feel empowered to then move in a space of joy. A joy that the world didn't give and the world can't take away. So we were able to celebrate Tina Rose on Saturday. We were able to celebrate her through scripture, through her own words. We found some journals. My daughter and son and brother and her best friend spoke, and most of them were able to use Tina's own words. We were able to use her own words in her obituary to celebrate her. So we found joy in that celebration of life. So why am I mentioning this? One thing that we did that was quite different. We decided to, as a very small, intimate group, we went to the cemetery first. And the honor guard was there from the Air Force. They played taps, they folded the flag. All of that was so powerful and so divine. Having my elder brother place the ashes into the grave, and then we put white roses in there, not only to represent Tina Rose, but to honor my mom, Rose Davis, who departed this life in 1993. So they are together at Good Shepherd plot. It's Mount Holiness Cemetery, but the area that they're in is called Good Shepherd. So, and so seeking the good, right? Even in the saddest, I still call it this indescribable pain that I feel about my sister not being here, seeking the good and those moments of comfort. Those were the moments that brought me peace and comfort. So we did the burial first, and then we went to the celebration. Because as a preacher, growing as a preacher, I've been a preacher for about 12 years now, maybe 15 years, ordained maybe 10. At funerals, my experience is in a Christian context. I can't speak to other context, but in a Christian context, you have the service, the funeral or memorial, you go to the cemetery, and then you have the repast. It seems to me that during the funeral, the preacher is supposed to preach to the attendees and either speak about the person, and sometimes they even say that the eulogy is not really for the person who died, it's really for the people who are there. That's probably a different vodcast for another time. I think it's for everybody. But anyway, and then you go to the cemetery and you open up those wounds all over again. And then you go to the repast and you're not really closing those wounds with God's word or with love. We're eating because as the Black diaspora, we dine and we feast together, and that is a form of healing. But I love the intentionality of having the burial first and then being very intentional about celebrating the life that we just committed back to God and back to the ground, back ashes to ashes, dust to dust. And then we celebrate it. And then we closed out with the benediction, which was Cameo's candy, because Tina absolutely loved Cameo. So some things don't have to be so rigid and so traditional, if you will. Do what brings you joy. Do what honors God. If it brings you joy, unspeakable joy, I can assure you it's going to honor God. And because it honors God, then it honors community, whether it's during a loss of a loved one or what we're dealing with in the community, or even what we're dealing with in our families or with our jobs or diagnosis or whatever the case is. Holding on to that joy, holding on to that joy through prayer, holding on to that joy, knowing that I am worthy and I am enough, holding on to that joy to celebrate life every day, that when you get up and you take a breath, that is a celebration. And when you don't take a breath, when you depart this life, that is a celebration, because you had an opportunity to spend time, to be honored, to enjoy, to share, to commune with the person, whether it was a full 43 years or 5 years or even a year. So many people said to me how Tina has touched their life in one way, shape, or form. So we take those things and we honor those things and we bring them joy. Hey, my brother Walter Smith is in the building. Do what honors God. Absolutely. So I'm going to leave you with that. That was my benediction. Do what honors God. Remember, you are worthy. And if you do what honors God, you do what honors you. Because there is, the Spirit of the Lord is upon us and within us and around us and through us. So if we do what honors God, that's the fullness thereof. And we are able to not only honor ourselves, but we're able to honor our beloveds. Thank you for joining me today on Tuesdays with Tawana. I hope to see you next Tuesday at 2 o'clock. I am Reverend T. It's always an honor and a privilege to commune with you and to build community one episode at a time. And just remember, Black is beautiful. You are wonderful. You are worthy. You are divine. You are amazing. You can do all things through God who strengthens you. You can move mountains. Go ahead and feel all the feels and find God in the midst of it. Find God. And you'll find God. Because God's word says, seek and ye shall find. And the God of the universe is the God that lives in you. God bless you. I honor you. I thank you. I love you to the moon and beyond. And I'm out. See you next Tuesday.